PNR Networks is a member of Patreon. Show your love for our shows by joining our ongoing fundraising campaign and get some fantastic perks in return. Check it out and become a Patreon sponsor. You can sign up at patreon.com, patreon.com/PNR Networks. And thanks for your support.
She just goes a little mad sometimes.
Do you ever feel like you're normal and the rest of the world has lost its collective mind?
Put your helmet on. We'll be reaching speeds of 3.
Do you find people saying this to you a lot?
Are you totally deranged?
Are you looking for a looking glass to pass through?
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Or looking for a rabbit hole to fall down?
Who could think of a better punishment, really? Everything's the same here, it's just a little worse.
Guess what?
Life's a bitch. Now so am I.
You found it. Welcome to Platinum Rose's Garden.
Well, hello, my darlings. This is Platinum Rose Lady welcoming you to Platinum Rose's Garden on Saturday, October 28th, 2017. Oh, it's almost here. It's almost here. It's almost here. It's almost here. Pardon me while I laugh like a lunatic. It is nearly Halloween, my favoriteest time of the year. Oh, I love October. I love it so much. Except when it's October in New England. The reason I bring this up is why I wasn't around last week. I'm really sorry I missed recording last week. October, actually fall in New England is always a roll of the dice. Most of the time it's, crisp and cool and the air's, not too bad. Every once in a while we'll get the odd snowstorm. That happened one year before Halloween. That was fun. But last Saturday it was hot. I mean hot and humid and sticky and just bleh. It was awful. And I had to go out for a little while. So I went out and I came home and I was like, I came in the house and I was like, I don't feel well. And when it gets really hot, I get kind of sick. So I was like pretty much out of commission for the rest of the weekend. I was a mess, but I'm better now. Well, as better as I ever am. We all know that's, that's subjects change, I suppose. I hope everybody's week was good. My week was okay. I have decided that this show today, right now, I am going to do something that I probably should have done a very long time ago. Something that I have never admitted to you guys who listen to this show. And I figured it was time to come out of the proverbial closet, stand up in the light and be unafraid. So here goes. My name is Platinum Rose Lady, and I am a Hufflepuff. Whew. That went a lot better than I thought it would. I promised myself I wouldn't cry. Sorry. I know a lot of people out there probably just went, what? And anybody who's on my Twitter feed knows that I identify as a Hufflepuff. But, I thought about it, and for the longest time, I was taking, all these quizzes, Harry Potter quizzes, what house would you be in, and all this stuff. And I was always coming up Hufflepuff. And I was like, what the actual hell? Because everyone thinks of the Hufflepuff house as, the house with the nice personality. You know what I mean? Everybody thinks of Gryffindor as, brave and strong and, all that courageous stuff. And Ravenclaw's all like Mr. Spock smart and all this stuff like that. And that Slytherin is the evil but sexy house. And Hufflepuff's like, your friend with the nice personality. That kind of a thing. But I was like, I thought about it and I've been thinking about this. And at first I was kind of like, fuck, But then I thought about it and I was like, well, what is Hufflepuff known for the best? What is the thing that they're known for? Loyalty. And I was like, well, yeah, I was like, well, shit, yeah, that's me. I'm pretty loyal, And it made me think about being a Supernatural fan. And goodness knows, if you're a Supernatural fan, you better learn about loyalty pretty damn quick. Because you look at Sam and Dean. That's going to be the biggest example of loyalty in the history of ever. So I was like thinking about it, and I was like, you know what? There's nothing wrong with being a Hufflepuff. And then I really started like looking at it and being more objective about it instead of being like, oh man. I was like, wait, think about this. The Hufflepuff, the symbol for Hufflepuff, the spirit animal of Hufflepuff, if you prefer, is a badger. Have you ever seen a badger when they get mad? That's not pretty. They will fuck you up. And I was like, damn. I was like, that's actually a really cool thing, because they look kind of harmless and cute until you screw with them, and then they'll like tear your hands off. I'm like, well, that's kind of me. If I'm being perfectly honest with myself. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to stand up and I'm going to embrace my inner puff. So I am a Hufflepuff, and I don't give a shit who knows it. And if you have a problem with it, that's your problem, not mine. So there. So anyway, that silliness out of the way. Let's get to what you guys came for. This week is going to be a double header. 2 episodes for the price of 1. Wait, nobody's actually getting paid for this. Oh, well, fuck it. This is this week's Supernatural episode recap.
Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
Season 13, Episode 2 of Supernatural, The Rising Sun. The Then is dealing with, obviously, the stuff we've had to deal with the past season and a little bit of this season. The Princes of Hell, of which there is only one left, Asmodeus. And also the Then is dealing with all of the people that we have lost at the end of Season 12 and the things we're dealing with in Season 13, including the fact that Mary and Lucifer are now on this alternate Earth, and Sam and Dean don't know their mother is still alive, and that Kelly died giving birth to Jack, her son, who is now a young man. And we're at now. And now is starting in hell, because it's supernatural, And I don't mean Hell, Michigan, either. Hey, out there. Hell is in a bit of a disarray, as you'd probably imagine, because nobody's in charge right now. Lucifer is gone, Crowley is gone, and the demons don't seem to really know what to do with themselves, except for Drexel, the demon who is convinced that Lucifer is going to come back and is, a bit of a suck-up. As it turns out, though, someone has decided to make an appearance, and that someone is the last Prince of Hell, Asmodeus. A gentleman in a white suit with a very elegant southern accent and a rather scarred up face. He kind of reminded me of Vincent, what the heck is his name? Leonardo DiCaprio's character from Django Unchained. Kind of that same kind of southern charm voice that you also know instantly not to trust. Asmodeus has decided that he is going to watch over hell until Lucifer returns with his son. And he is going to do that by cleaning house of all of the demons that he feels were backing the Crowley regime by killing them pretty much instantly, sitting on Hell's throne and announcing that there is a new sheriff in town. And then we get the amazing opening credits for Season 13, which I just cannot rave enough about. We cut to the Impala driving down the road at night. Dean's driving, and Sam is obviously in the front seat, and Jack is curled up in the back seat asleep and just looking so precious and adorable. And I know I really shouldn't be saying that, but I can't help it. He's just so damn cute. Sam is trying to, make Dean understand that what they need to do is help Jack, try and help him to learn how to control his powers. Dean is still having absolutely none of it. Dean wants to kill Jack. He seems to be almost looking for an excuse to end Jack. But Sam is of the opinion that if they can teach Jack how to use his powers, because as a Nephilium, the product of a union of a human and an angel, he's obviously incredibly powerful. And Sam thinks that they will be able to get their mother back. Dean is of the opinion Mary's already dead. Dean is wrong, but doesn't know that. We cut to the other Earth. I don't want to call it Earth 2 because DC Comics might get mad at me. I'm just going to keep calling it the other Earth for right now. If you guys have a better, thing to call it, platinumroselle@yahoo.com, lay it on me. I'm open for suggestions. Lucifer is keeping Mary alive because he wants to trade her to Sam and Dean for Jack. His whole attitude is as soon as they get back to Sam and Dean, that he's going to give them Mary and they're going to give him Jack. And then he's probably going to kill Mary, Sam, and Dean, but, Mary's pretty much obviously not buying anything Lucifer says because, hello, Lucifer. Although when she does make a remark about him caring about Jack, his whole attitude of you don't know what I care for, I found that a really interesting line because maybe in some way Lucifer does view Jack as his son and not just a blunt instrument. I don't know, maybe. But Mary's lipping off gets her hurt by Lucifer with a hand wave. We cut to a motel room where the Winchesters and Jack are going to be staying the night because Dean is starting to hallucinate while he's driving. Sam mentions that he was seeing sheep on the road. Okay. Sam starts warding the room as Dean's, looking around as well, making sure that everything's, copacetic. Jack winds up over on one of the beds. He's just kind of sitting there on the bed, kind of almost like a child, the way he's sitting with his knees tucked up under himself. And he's watching TV. He's watching Scooby-Doo. And he's got this look on his face of absolute wonder. Like, this is the most amazing thing I've ever seen in my life. And Dean makes him turns off the TV after leaving it on for a second so he can check it out and kind of smirk to himself watching Scooby's antics. But he tells Jack, not to watch TV and that he's going to be sleeping on the couch. You know what? I was going to wait till the end of... No, I'm going to wait till the end of this and then I'll get into it. When they sit down to eat, Sam kind of notices that Jack is, whether it's conscious or unconscious, he's imitating Dean. He's imitating Dean's hand motions and gestures and stuff like that. It's actually, it's so sweet. It's not done out of any, you don't feel like it's being done out of mockery or malice or any kind of artifice or him trying to worm his way into Dean's affections. He's just doing this because he, honest to blog, doesn't know how he's supposed to act. It's like watching a child imitate their father or something like that. And I'm sorry, I was just sitting there, I was like, oh. And of course, then Dean has to be a jerk about it. All right, no, I'm going to wait till the end. Jack, earlier on, Dean had tossed a book to him to read instead of watching TV, and the book in a motel, surprise, turns out to be the Bible. Which was interesting because he had opened it up and was reading the Song of Solomon, which I guess is a part of the Bible that pertains to sex. Like talking about sex in a beautiful romantic way and love in a beautiful romantic way and stuff like that. I was like, okay. Jack asks Sam and Dean about Lucifer and God and stuff like that. And they answer him as honestly as they can, and they do want to know the extent of Jack's powers. And when they talk about, about his true father, which he knows his true father is Lucifer and not Castiel, even though he feels like Castiel is his father. He does have memories of Lucifer. He does have memories of Lucifer reaching out to him, these red eyes in the dark, smiling. And the problem is when Sam asks what's wrong, and Jack's just like, nothing. I'm like, oh, great. The one thing he has picked up from these two is the whole keeping secrets and not telling people when you're in pain thing. Arg! I don't know if that's a Winchester thing or just a guy thing. I honest to goodness don't know. It turns out that there's a man walking down the hallway who looks like he's looking for a specific room. The Winchesters drag the guy into the room once they see his shadow and realize it's actually somebody they know. It's Donatello Redfield, the gentleman that we met back in season 11 in the episode All in the Family. He was a chemistry teacher that became a professor, I should say, that was turned into a prophet. And the last time we saw him, Amara had eaten his soul. I had assumed that meant he was dead, but it turns out he's not. He's just walking around without a soul now. And he actually seems a little more, I don't know what it is. He seems a little more pleasant than he did before. I don't know. It's weird. He does bring up the fact that now when he's at like a moral crossroads, his whole thing is what would Mr. Rogers do, and he does that. I'm like, well, there's worse people you could be following, I guess. Whatever. The thing is, he says that a few days ago, he felt this enormous surge of power. And that it was drawing him from where he was, and that the power was coming from Jack. He also tells the Winchesters that what he feels from Jack, it's not a dark power. It's not a malicious or malignant power, which I know Sam is of the opinion, no kidding, and Dean probably doesn't believe. Jack, Sam and Dean decide they're going to, obviously there's going to be people out there looking for him, angels, demons, everything else, and they decide that what Jack needs next is an anti-possession tattoo, like Sam and Dean have, because apparently Sam got his back because it got burned off when he was the whole thing in Road Trip when Crowley went into his body to oust Gedriel, or to get Sam to oust Gedriel. So sometime between then and this episode, Sam got his anti-possession tattoo back. So yay. The thing is, the tattoo process doesn't exactly go terribly well right away, because the second the needle hits Jack's skin, it hurts, and all of a sudden the guy's machine kind of blows up a little bit and he gets tossed across the room, which pretty much convinces Dean that at any moment Jack is going to go dark side, because the whole idea that something like that hurting you and you lashing out if you don't know it's coming, that's, apparently that didn't occur to Dean. Oh, I can hear the Dean Divas getting mad at me. Oh, I can hear it starting already. The thing is, when they're done, Jack has two tattoos. He has the anti-possession tattoo, and he also has this much larger tattoo that I don't have the faintest idea what it is. The problem is that neither tattoo stays around very long, because they get outside the tattoo parlor to walking toward the Impala, and all of a sudden both tattoos are just gone. Just zip, gone, disappear, I was like, all right, okay. So it gets ear piercings are right out. The problem is that, they never explained what the other tattoo was, which irritates me. And the bigger problem is the fact that the Winchesters and Jack are being watched by a bag lady who is currently possessed by a demon. Sam is of the opinion that Jack is, he believes that Jack can be taught not to be evil. His whole thing is that he believes that, it's all about the fact that Jack is a person. I mean, yes, one of his parents is, Lucifer, but, that doesn't mean that he's automatically going to be, bad too. Dean, surprise, disagrees. And the problem is they're so busy arguing with each other about this, they turn around and realize Jack's not in the room anymore. Jack, as it turns out, can teleport, because they tried to get him to teleport earlier and it didn't work. He's outside. He just went outside. He wanted to get away from all the shouting. And he's just sitting outside and he's thinking about his mom. And Sam finds him sitting outside and sits with him. And he's trying to explain Dean to Jack. He's telling Jack that he's got some skills that he needs to learn how to use, that they need to figure that out together so that he doesn't hurt people. And it's, in a scene that just completely tore me to pieces, Jack asks Sam if that is the reason that Dean hates him. And I was just like, oh, come here. Oh, come here. I have to hug you now. I have to hug you really, 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 really super hard. Sam tries to explain the way Dean is. He tells him that Dean doesn't hate him. He tells him that sometimes Dean doesn't express himself well, that he gets frustrated, and that when he gets frustrated, the frustration mixes with the anger that he has and also whatever he's fearing at the time. And when Jack asks him why Dean would be afraid, Sam's response is because Dean feels like it's his job to protect everyone. And right now, we need to protect you. But we may also need to protect people from you. When Jack makes a remark about that he might not be worth all of that, Sam responds, your mom thought you were. So did Cass. So do I. Great. Now I want to hug the both of them. I mean, I always want to hug Sam, but I was like, oh gosh, you guys, could you could you guys pluck at my heartstrings any further? I mean, crying out loud. We see Dean in the bar in the hotel, and he's talking with the waitress, and they're talking about, daddy issues, because goodness knows Dean has them, and that was not a slam. I have daddy issues too. I have a boatload of daddy issues that would probably rival the Titanic. The waitress brings up how kids always want their father's approval, and I do remember thinking that was kind of an odd thing to say, but As it turns out it was an odd thing to say, because that wasn't the waitress talking. The actual waitress is behind the bar with a slit throat. The waitress was actually Asmodeus, who we now know has shape-shifting to add to his little, pile of, stuff that he can do along with killing demons. So that's fantastic. Now he knows about Jack and where, where Jack is. Sam winds up talking with Donatello about the lore about Nephilim, and the fact that, according to the lore, a Nephilim will be more powerful than the angel that was one of its parents. So when you think about that whole concept, and you think about the fact that Jack's father, Lucifer, is an archangel, and that means that Jack is going to be more powerful than an archangel? Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we've hit we really hope he's on the light side of the Force side of things. And they also talk about Kelly, Jack's mother. We cut over to the other Earth, where Mary, who had been separated from Lucifer by one of these fire bombs that are constantly bombarding Earth, she winds up being caught by a hunter, which nearly turns into a rape situation, where the hunter winds up being killed by Lucifer, who saves Mary, and that was the weirdest thing I've ever had to say. we cut back to our Earth, and Dean comes in to the room with some food. Donatello and Jack, by the way, were sharing a room because obviously Sam was like, we're not going to have him sleep on the couch. Dean comes back into the motel room with food. And Sam, once again, tries to reach out to Dean about Jack, about, the whole idea that, not even talking about the whole idea of using his powers to save or to bring back Mary, but just the fact that, would you please give this kid a fucking chance, because he's a kid, he's scared, and he doesn't know what's going on. And the problem is, as they're talking about this, Donatello comes into the room bringing breakfast, and when Sam's like, why are you back so soon? Donatello's like, what do you mean back? And it's like, oh, fuck no. So now we know that wasn't Donatello earlier, and we've, Sam and Dean race over to Jack's room, and Jack is not there. Donatello seems to go into some kind of, almost it's like a trance-like thing, where he's like feeling Jack's energies, and Dean runs back to Dean goes back to their room to get their gear, some of their gear, and he winds up being attacked by a demon, and who gets killed by Sam. When they go back out in the hall, Donatello is almost killed by another demon, who winds up being killed by Dean, who throws a knife and hits the demon in the fucking throat with the knife. Holy shit, he just rolled a 20 on a dex check. Fucking A. I mean, I am... Dean and I would not be drinking buddies in this episode, but that was nice. That was one of the best fucking shots I've ever seen, ever. We see Donatello, the other Donatello, who we know is not the real Donatello, in a field with Jack, talking with Jack and telling Jack this lie about a bunch of soldiers of God. These soldiers called the Shadim. Now, so in a little bit of a plot twist, not really, that was total sarcasm. Earlier on in the episode, Asmodeus had talked about the Shadim with the demons in hell. The Shadim were monsters. They were monsters so awful that God threw them into a pit in hell that nobody would go into, or no one would go near. Lucifer punished Asmodeus by scarring up his face when Asmodeus went to free them, as a way of trying to curry favor with Lucifer, because Asmodeus thought, well, I can tame them, and that will show Lucifer how, important I am and how loyal I am to him. That didn't work out. So this faux Donatello starts spinning Jack this story about how the Shadim are God's soldiers and they're trapped in hell, and you can use your power to free them, and all this stuff like that. We cut back to the Impala, where Sam, Dean, and the real Donatello are racing to the place where Donatello's picked up on Jack's vibe. The place they're going, Jasper, Wyoming, is a gate to hell. And that what is held there, under there, is the place where the Shadim are held, which is obviously a very, 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 tack about 900 more varies on there, bad thing. On the other Earth, this is going to get confusing, Lucifer and Mary wind up being attacked by a group of angels. The thing is, things get truly weird when the angels ask them to identify themselves, and Lucifer says, he's Lucifer. And the angel that's speaking to them has this kind of weird cadence to its voice. It's almost, for lack of a better word, robotic. There's almost kind of a shout out to my Star Trek homies out there. There's almost a Borg-likeness to the way the way the angel speaks. The cadence of the angel's voice. The angel says that Lucifer was killed by Michael. When the angels go to attack them, Lucifer just, snaps his fingers and the angels are all destroyed. All of a sudden, this other fireball comes flying down from the sky, a big crater, and we see a figure in the crater we see this shadow of this figure with these wings, and this man, African-American man in a long duster kind of coat, steps out from the crater, and he identifies himself, and Lucifer identifies him as the Archangel Michael. This planet's Archangel Michael. This is going to get really confusing. Back on our universe, Jack's using his powers, and it's unfortunately working. The Shadeen are coming into our world. The gates are being opened, and we don't see the whole Shadim. What we do see is enough to be like, okay, please shut that. Please shut that. All while what he thinks is Asmodeus is goading him on. The Winchesters pull up, and Dean shoots the other Donatello, who turns into Asmodeus, who uses his magic to start choking Dean, Sam, and the real Donatello. Asmodeus tries to turn Jack against the Winchesters, telling him that they're only using him. They're going to keep you from using the full extent of your power and all this other stuff like that. All Jack can see is that Asmodeus is hurting his friends, and that pisses him off. His eyes start glowing yellow, and he makes it very obvious that if Asmodeus doesn't get out of there, something bad is about to happen to him, so he winds up disappearing. And the Winchesters and Donatello are freed from the spell that was choking them. And Jack just kind of looks at Dean, and Dean just looks back at him. There's no, I almost wish Jack had a look on his face of, did I do good or anything like that. And Dean's just kind of looking at him with still kind of this hostility. We cut to the other world where Michael and Lucifer trade barbs, and then they begin fist fighting. And as any fight between Michael and Lucifer would be, it's nasty. Also, before they started fighting, Lucifer had mentioned that his Michael is in, the one that he, as he puts it, left behind is, as he also put it, a hot mess. So I'm assuming that means Michael is still in a cage in hell somewhere. Could we work on that, writers? Could we please? I'm not kidding. The thing is, they start fighting, and it's a pretty bad fist fight. But when they start fighting, Michael mentions that he's not going to kill Lucifer because he might need him. Almost mirroring what Lucifer had said about Mary. So I don't know where we're going with that. Back at the Batcave in Lebanon, Kansas, Sam is arguing with Dean that Jack saved them, that he used his powers for good and wasn't told to do that. He did it on his own. Dean still isn't having any of it and refers to what Jack did as a reflex. Dean hears a noise and goes down the corridor to the room they've given Jack to stay in. Jack is in the room, and he is stabbing himself over and over again with a very large knife and watching as the wounds just close up on themselves. Dean, needless to say, is horrified by this and takes the knife away from him, but it's not done in an, oh my gosh, you're hurting yourself, what are you doing kind of a way. It's just like, stop it, stop being stupid. Even though Jack is asking him, what am I? And in a scene that just really ripped me to pieces, Jack says that he can't control whatever he is. That he will hurt somebody. Dean tells him that Sam thinks Jack can be saved. Jack says to Dean that you don't believe that. And Dean's response is, no, I don't. When Jack asks him what if he's right, Dean says, if I'm right, and if it comes to killing you, I'll be the one to do it. And leaves Jack just there, alone. I give The Rising Sun 4.5 bouquets out of 5. I thought it was a really interesting episode. I really like the character of Asmodeus. Seems really interesting. It's really interesting to see what he's going to do, because he seems to be of the opinion that Jack is going to rule hell, and he's going to be at Jack's side, helping him rule hell. He doesn't seem to be very concerned about what happens to Lucifer. I found that interesting. The gentleman that plays Asmodeus, Jeffrey Vincent Parise, I hope I said that right. I really like him. I think he's a really terrific actor. I really liked him a lot in this. If you're a fan of shows like The Detour, he was on that. He was on General Hospital, and he's done some other things like CSI New York and all kinds of other stuff like that. So I welcome you to the cast, Jeffrey. Welcome to the asylum, buddy. And I have to bring up Alexander Calvert again as Jack. Oh my gosh, I do adore you. I mean, I do. I think you bring such a sweetness and such a vulnerability to this character, and I want to hug you so bad. It's ridiculous. And I'm not just saying that because you are just cute, because you are. You're very cute. But I don't want to just hug you because you're cute. I want to hug you because you just look like you could use a hug. I was happy to see Donatello back. Keith Zarbajga, I hope I even came remotely close, sir. I really do. You have a beautiful looking last name, but I have a feeling I just butchered it. So Keith, if I just wrecked your last name, I'm sorry. But I was so happy to see you back, buddy. I was like, oh my gosh, he's back. Yay. I was so happy. I was really excited. I hope we see Donatello some more. I think he's great. Okay. Oh, and also, real quick, I want to bring up Christian Keys. I'm sorry, I should have done that. I'm sorry, Christian. I do apologize. Christian is the gentleman who is playing the other universe's version of Michael. So this is going to be really interesting to see this Michael and to see his take on this other universe's Michael. And he was really, oh my gosh, he was so intense and mesmerizing. And oh, you're such a welcome addition to the family, Christian. Oh, I'm so psyched. I'm so psyched for this season. I really am. I know I say that every season, but okay. Now I'm going to get to the part of this little old review here that I know is going to make some people mad at me, Dean Divas. I love Dean Winchester. I do. I do love Dean. I am a Samazon, but I am Dean curious. And I understand why Dean is acting this way. But saying that, I love you, Dean, but in this episode, I really don't like you. This is a child. I mean, I realize the person that Jack is an adult and looks like an adult and can think like an adult and so on and so forth. But they're not even a week old, you know, and they don't know who they are or what they are. And you treating them like they're, you know, poison, that's wrong. I'm sorry. And I know Dean's hurting, and I know that Dean doesn't express hurt well, and I know Dean internalizes it and then lashes out at people and stuff like that. I know all of that. But telling somebody that you don't think they can be saved and telling them that you're going to kill them when they do turn dark side, not if they turn dark side, when they turn dark side? Really? Really? Now, I realize that all of that, and like I said, I mean, I love Dean, but by the end of this episode, I wanted to grab him by the shoulders and shake him like a terrier would shake a rat. I really did. I realized that a fuck ton of Dean Divas are now furious with me and want to beat my ass and are all probably like, well, you're a Samazon, you're going to say things like that, meh. You know, and to the beat my ass part, I say, bring it. I haven't been a wrestling fan for 20-something years and not learned a few things. But I hope nobody will think that I'm, you know, and I am not by any stretch of the imagination slamming on Jensen. Oh my gosh, I would never do that, because Jensen did such an amazing job in this episode. Jared as well. It goes without saying that those guys always do fucking amazing work. They never phone it in. It's just, I expected better from Dean. I did. I know he's hurting. I realize that. His heart is probably completely and utterly broken. I understand. I do. But, anyway, going forward, we're going to work on our next episode, which is obviously this from the episode from this week, season 13, episode 3, Patience. Then is dealing with one of the most tragic things we've had to deal with in I don't know how long, on a show that lumps tragedy on tragedy on tragedy. The death of Castiel, who was murdered at the end of season 12 by Lucifer. And we're dealing with Jack and all the things that he's had to deal with in a very short period of time. And we come back to a type of character we've heard about, a type of creature we've heard about, but haven't seen recently. We actually haven't seen one in the flesh, nasty, rotting flesh, bleh, since season 5 in the episode Sam Interrupted, and that's a wraith. Wraiths in the supernatural universe are extremely nasty motherfuckers. They feed on people's brains. They feed on brain fluid, which they get to by stabbing their victims with an organic spike that comes out of their wrist. A wraith can look like a regular human being, but their true face shows up in a mirror. And to quote Arnold Schwarzenegger from Predator, one of the greatest movies of the 1980s, "You are one ugly motherfucker." And we deal with the fact that we've got a new Prince of Hell out there, the last Prince of Hell, Asmodeus, who is taken over the throne of Hell right now, or at least it says he's keeping it warm, waiting for Jack to come and rule over Hell, with him as at his side, Asmodeus as a loyal minister or something to that effect. And now we are at Now, and Now turns out to be Omaha, Nebraska, which I have never been to, but I'm sure is a lovely place. We are at a psychic's studio, and it is getting close to closing time. And stop playing Semisonic. I know you're playing that out there. How's that for a flashback? This woman is about to close down her studio for the evening, but a young man comes in and says that, you know, can he talk with her? He needs to speak with her. And being a psychic, she seems like a very nice person, and from the look of it, she's an actual real psychic, not just, you know, one of these fakers. And she sits with him, and she does tell him that she can't read his mind, that she is a psychic advisor, you know, but she can read auras and stuff like that. And he says, well, can you read mine? And she says, you know, she can. And she puts her hands on the side of his face, and we see what she's seeing, and what she's seeing ain't good, because his face changes into this horrible visage, and he's pleased that he's found an actual real psychic to feed on, because yes, he's a wraith. We're not playing the guess who the wraith is in this episode. We're getting it right from the jump. And we cut to after the opening credits, which if I haven't mentioned recently, I love. We cut to the Bat Cave in Lebanon, Kansas, because I refuse to call it the bunker, because that's just tacky. We see Dean listening to some music on his when he's got his, you know, headphones in while he's looking at his stuff on his laptop, and drinking. It's pretty obvious he's been drinking a lot. Not going to comment on that. I've probably got enough Dean Divas out there that want my head anyway, but alcohol is not the way to solve problems, kids. And Jack is in his room touching the wall? And that's not a euphemism for something. He's just standing there kind of pressed up against the wall and kind of running his hand along it. Like, I don't know what he's doing. I mean, it almost kind of looks like he's searching for some secret passageway or something. I'm like, dude, you didn't watch that much Scooby-Doo, did you? Sam comes into the room and bringing a laptop and a thumb drive. I actually remembered a computer term. Yay! That he wants Jack to see, and he hopes that, that Jack will want to see it. It's a video message from his mother, Kelly. And we see Jack watching this and hearing his mother's voice and seeing her face and stuff like that. And it's really beautiful as she's telling him all these really positive, good things about himself and what kind of a person he's going to be, and that, he is who he chooses to be, which is the message that every parent should give their child, throughout life. I mean, seriously, I'm not a parent and I'll play one on TV, but even I know that that's the message that you should always give your kids. You choose who you want to be. It's not your friends, it's not the TV shows you watch, it's not the books you read, it's you. And you can tell Sam's listening to this too, and kind of, he's got this kind of sad, wistful kind of look on his face, and I'm like, come here, I have to hug you right now. He gets interrupted, though, by getting a phone call from a person we haven't seen for a long time, Missouri Mosley. It's really interesting how Missouri only appeared in one episode, the season 1 episode, Home, and wound up being such a huge part of Supernatural. She's just this enormous part of the show, and always has been and always will be, because she's awesome. She tells Sam that she needs his help. And so we see Dean coming back into the front room in the back cave, and has asked Jody to go to Nebraska to check on this thing with Missouri to see what's going on. And Dean is really pissed off about this. He's of the opinion that he and Sam should go, that he shouldn't be, assigning this to Jody, that someone else could get hurt on their watch, kind of a thing. And if you want to sit here and babysit the Antichrist, that's fine, but I'm going to go do my job. Yeah, so apparently Dean's still going to be an asshole in this episode about Jack, and also being an asshole to Sam, because Sam really deserves that, right? And I hear the knives sharpening out there. I know I do. I'm sorry. I say what I feel, and I'm not sorry for that. Dean drives to Nebraska, joins up with Jody, Jody Mills, who's already meeting with Missouri. And it turns out this woman that was killed, she was a real deal psychic. Her name was Dee Dee. And it turns out that she was a close friend of Missouri, that Missouri also referred to her as her protege, and that she was very close to her, and closer than she was with other people, even in her family right now. They go in, before they go inside, though, when Missouri gives Dean a hug, she tells him that she's sorry for his losses. And Dean just kind of nods, because, hiding things from psychics is a stupid idea. They go inside the studio, and Missouri can read things from touching something. She can tell what happened to somebody and also pick up future events sometimes. I don't remember what they call that kind of psychic ability. There's an actual name for it. I know it's super duper long, but I can't think of it right now. And she immediately identifies that what killed her friend was a wraith. And the thing is, this wraith has fed on other wraiths before, and apparently has developed a taste for psychics. We cut back to the Batcave, where Sam is sitting with Jack and trying to help Jack learn how to use his powers so that, it's basically kind of like the whole X-Men idea of, you control your powers don't control you kind of a deal. And Sam wants him to try and use his telekinesis to move a pencil. Seems pretty simple. The problem is we cut back to Nebraska and Missouri touches the table and has this other vision of a man. She calls out the name James, and it turns out James is her son. She calls him, she pleads with him that he needs to get away. He needs to get her granddaughter away because there's something dangerous coming for them, something bad. And her son hangs up on her. It's, I was like, okay, that was a little abrupt. She pleads with Jody and Dean to go to Buckhead, Georgia, which is where James and her son James lives with her granddaughter Patience. Jack is still trying to use his telekinesis, and it's not working. The thing is, and he's getting frustrated. He's getting frustrated because Sam's getting a little frustrated. As Jack explains it, when he uses his powers, it's like breathing. I kind of would also this is going to seem like a really strange analogy, but go with it. I kind of liken Jack's powers to your tongue. You know how you don't think about your tongue? Your tongue's just there, You're talking, you're eating ice cream, you're eating soup, you're doing whatever. And the whatever can be whatever you want. I'm not going there. But your tongue is just there. It's doing its thing. You don't think about it. And then if you think about your tongue, that it's just there, it's always there behind your teeth and just there on the bottom of your mouth, you'll wind up thinking about that constantly for about 10 or 15 minutes. It's just this weird thing that you don't think about stuff that you do naturally. You don't think about the fact that you breathe naturally. You don't think about the fact that you blink. If you sat there and thought about how many times in an hour you blink, you'd go nuts. But that's the whole thing with Jack's powers. When he tries to use them, they don't work. He can't just force it to happen. It just has to happen naturally, at least right now, because he's still young. In the amount of time he's been on planet Earth, young, and doesn't really, have the firm grasp of that yet. Sam tells them that they need a break, and I do have to say, in that scene, Sam, honey, precious puppy, you weren't being very supportive. He definitely gave off the vibe of you're not trying hard enough, or you're, it's not that Sam was being mean. It was just that a smile might have been nice. A little maybe pat on the shoulder would have been something. I realize Sam is hurting too. I don't know. It's just, it's easy to sit there and be an armchair quarterback, I guess. The Wraith, as it turns out, comes back to Dee Dee's studio where Missouri is waiting for him. And the thing is, I was like, what? Why are you here? Why are you doing this? But I think the reason she did it was because she's giving Dean and Jody time to get to Georgia. And I thought it was really something. Before he kills her, Missouri tells him that her people are going to kill him. And when she says her people, she means Dean and Jody. And I thought that was like, damn, especially Dean. And she winds up facing him, and she faces him like a badass. She faces him like a true warrior. No running away, no begging, no screaming. And we don't see the kill, but we know that it happens. And I was like, you fucking son of a cocksucking motherfucking bitch. In case you didn't know, this show was not safe for work. Ta-da! We cut to we're assuming Georgia, and we see Patience, who is a pretty young lady who is in high school. We see her joking around with a friend, and then the scene gets very grim when the lights go out and she sees her grandmother's dead body, and she's attacked from behind, and all of a sudden she wakes up in bed screaming. She had a nightmare. Or was it? Well, we all know the answer to that. We're Supernatural fans. She tells her father, James, about her nightmare, and he's kind with her about it. He's like, it's just a dream. Don't worry about it, kind of a thing. The usual things a parent would say to their child, when they're being supportive. We cut to a store where Dean's buying supplies, and he learns about Missouri's death via the TV news that's playing in the store. Dean and Jody show up at Jack's house in Georgia and have to break the bad news to him about his mom and the fact that his mom's gone. And he has to deal with the fact that, he spoke to his mother the day before, and that he hung up on her. His last name is Turner, by the way. He goes by James Turner, and that's what Patience goes by as well. The thing is, besides the bad news, they're also giving James the warning that the Wraith is coming for James or maybe Patience. We cut to Patience at school, and she is, just at school and doing her whole school thing, talking with her friend, and winds up having this huge feeling of deja vu. Which leads to her, she just kind of like tries to shake it off. She shuts her locker, and there is the Wraith standing there, who grabs her and attacks her. But as it turns out, Patience isn't one of these little shrinking violets, oh, save me types. Oh no, she fights back, and fights back hard, including a knee to the jewels, and manages to snap off the Wraith's wrist spike. And I was like, fuck me. I like this girl. I like her. Unfortunately, that doesn't make the Wraith run off, but it does kind of, disorient it long enough that there's a gunshot rings out. Dean and Jody obviously made it into the building and shoot the Wraith in the back. Dean chases after the Wraith, and Jody stays behind to, make sure that Patience is all right. Dean runs outside, barely, almost gets run over by the fleeing Wraith, who obviously, thankfully, did hit Dean, which is a good thing. Patience, when Dean and Jody go back in and talk with her, Patience, the way she talks about Missouri, it's pretty obvious that she doesn't know Missouri at all. She mentions how her grandmother said that she was a psychic, but that she was a fake. She tells Dean and Jody that Missouri didn't care about her, that she abandoned her and her father after her mother had passed away. And Dean's like, what the fuck are you talking about? He's pretty much like, that is not the person that Missouri was. We cut back to the Batcave, and we see Sam in another room, and watching. He's in another room. He's watching Jack. There's obviously cameras in the bunker in the Batcave all over the place. Or maybe they're the men. I don't think they would have left the Men of Letters stuff in there, but the British Men of Letters stuff. But they've got cameras in there anyway. He's kind of dividing his time between keeping an eye on Jack and making sure he's okay, and reading from this book about how to deal. I wouldn't say deal with. That's a terrible way to put it. The book that Sam's looking at is called The Drama of the Gifted Child, which is actually apparently a real book. I don't know. It's I don't know if it's a real book or not, but anyway, it's kind of like the whole scene kind of reminded me of when you see a parent doing chores or something and they've got the baby monitor on to make sure everything's kind of copacetic with the kid. I just thought that was kind of sweet. The thing is, it goes from kind of to oh crap when Sam looks up at the monitor again and Jack's gone. Sam bolts out of that room like a bat out of hell. He runs in the room and calling Jack's name and finds Jack right away because Jack didn't actually leave the room. He's curled up in the dark in the corner of the room. And I'm like, damn it, this show is gonna break my heart again, isn't it? Yes, it is. In the next scene, the whole scene afterwards, Jack is talking about, the fact that he's afraid. He's afraid that he might be evil. And Sam tells him that he doesn't see him as being evil. That's not what he sees when he looks at him. Jack tells him that Dean sees it and that Dean told him that he'd kill him. And Sam's response of, he what? Is one of those Sam Winchester angry faces that you're like, oh, fuck, hide the china. It's, oh, fuck, But you knew it was going to happen sooner or later. And Jack pretty much pours his heart out to Sam about how he feels about his mom, how he blames himself for his mom's death, and that he feels like he's done things that are wrong, that he tries to be good, but he can't. And that he feels like just because he couldn't move this fucking pencil, that was one good stupid thing that Sam asked him to do, he couldn't do it. And because of that, he thinks that he's evil. And Sam tells him that he's not evil. He doesn't have to be evil. It's, that you're scared of what you have, this power, and that the fact that I was pressuring you didn't help, I mean, it's not I'm sorry. It's not a flat out I'm sorry, but it's pretty close. And when Jack asks him why you're being so nice to me, Sam says that he knows what it's like to feel different, to feel like people think, the worst of you when you know that you're not bad and you're not a bad person. And damn it. I'm sorry. I gotta suck it back up here. Jared Padalecki really deserves an Emmy for that scene there. I said it. It's really, really beautiful. We cut back to Georgia where there's a very tense standoff at the Turner home between James and Patience. It turns out that what happened with James and Missouri, why things went so south, is because James knew his mother was really a psychic, and he was scared. He was scared that his mother was going to be killed by the monsters out there, and he was a child. He was frightened, but he dealt with it. The thing is, his wife, Patience's mother, her name was Tess, she got ill, and when James asked his mother, was she going to recover, asking her to use her psychic powers to see that she would recover, Missouri told James that Tess would recover, and unfortunately, that didn't happen. Tess died. And James tells Patience that, it is true. Everything is true. And the whole thing about her dreams and all those things that have been happening, the deja vu she has, that's not just dreams and it's not just deja vu. She's inherited her grandmother's psychic abilities, and they need to run. If this wraith is out there trying to find them, they need to run. Patience goes up to her room and starts, getting things together to pack and stuff like that, and remembers the last time she saw her grandmother, and what triggers that is this beautiful brooch in her hand. It turns out the last time she saw her grandmother was at her mother's funeral. We see her as a little girl in a cemetery. We see other mourners walking away and stuff like that. And her father talking with Missouri and telling Missouri that they can't be around this anymore, that she can't, he doesn't want her to be part of their daughter's life, to be part of his daughter's life right now. Missouri tells Patience that she'll always watch over her and makes a promise to her of that, and gives her this beautiful brooch that Patience is currently holding in the present time. Patience continues to get ready to pack, goes to open up her closet, and all those stories about the monster in the closet? Yeah, apparently that's not always bullshit, because the wraith's in there waiting for her. James, Jody, and Dean hear Patience scream. When they run upstairs, obviously, no Patience. We cut to we have a commercial break. We come back. Dean's on his laptop searching the traffic cams. Jody's been on the phone to the local police. But Jack tells them that he might have something that can help. We had seen earlier on Missouri holding some stones that she had in a little pouch. Turns out Jack has a pouch of these as well. They're magical. That because of his mother teaching him, because he was afraid when they got lost, if they got lost in the dark or something like that, Jack knows how to do some divination magic, and that's going to help them find Patience. Patience is obviously in a world of trouble. She wakes up tied up to a chair. The Wraith plans to feed on her for a very long time. It figures because she's so young, it can feed on her for a while. It doesn't have to kill her right away. And all of a sudden we hear a noise. It's Dean, Jody, and James who found her, but everything goes south so very quickly. James winds up getting stabbed by the Wraith with its spike, stabs him in the throat. The spike's grown back, obviously. The Wraith stabs Jody to death with her own knife and stabs Dean to death. And as it turns out, after my heart started beating again, none of that happened. All of that was inside Patience's head. It was all a vision of what was going to happen. The Wraith makes the same remark it makes at the beginning of her vision, and all of a sudden there's that noise again. And this time it's the real James, Jody, and Dean showing up. And because Patience knows what's going to happen, she manages to save her father, although he does get knocked out. Save Jody, although she does get knocked out from a really nasty headbutt. And Dean winds up fighting with the Wraith in an extremely vicious fight and winds up stabbing it to death with what obviously would be a silver blade. Patience, needless to say, is freed, and when Dean remarks about how did she know all of that, what was going to happen kind of a thing, she's obviously come to grips with who she is and what she is, as she remarks, "Guess I'm psychic." We have a commercial break and come back, and Jody and Dean are sitting outside of James and Patience's house. Jody makes a remark to Dean about the fact that he's still got it when it came to handling the Wraith. Patience is apparently going to try and be normal right now, for whatever that is. She had talked with her father, and he thinks that she should put away this gift for right now, that maybe they should try and be normal. And she remarks that maybe he's right. Dean's response is, he is. This life, hunting monsters, there's no joy in it. There's nothing but pain, horror, and death. So if you get a chance to be normal, you take it. Jody is a little less closed book about the whole thing. she kind of walks away from Dean, walks over to Patience and tells her that, she had a daughter. I guess she refers to Claire as her daughter, though, which I thought was really sweet. And she mentions how she tried to keep Claire out of the life, which is really who Claire was, because she thought it would keep her from getting hurt, and that didn't happen. She tells her that, maybe her psychic gift will go away if she doesn't use it. But if she tries to stop using it or tries to deny it just to make someone else happy, that she'll just wind up hurting herself. That it has to be her choice. And she tells Patience that if she never needs someone to talk to about what she's feeling or needs someplace to be, needs someplace to go to if if life gets too overwhelming with this stuff, to give her a call. And she gives her a card with her phone number on it. We see Dean come back to the Batcave, and it's pretty obvious Sam has been waiting for him to come back, because Sam just lights into him for what he said to Jack about that he would kill him. Dean's whole attitude is that he feels like he told Jack the truth, that he calls Jack a freak, and that he tells Sam that it's going to end badly. Sam's response is, I didn't. And when Dean questions him, Sam says, I didn't end bad. When I was the freak, when I was drinking demon blood. Dean tries to hand wave that away, telling him that it was different. Sam's response is, was it? Because you could have put a bullet in me. Dad told you to put a bullet in me, but you didn't. You saved me, so help me save him. Dean's response to that is like a punch in the gut when he tells Sam, you deserve to be saved. He doesn't. And Dean finally lets loose all of the bile that he's been holding in when it comes to Jack. That when, Sam tells him that, of course, Jack, deserves to be saved. That Dean tells him that he knows that Sam wants to use Jack's powers to try and get Mary back. But he accuses Sam of not really caring about Jack, about who he is. He says that he can hardly look at Jack, because when he does look at him, all he sees are the people that they've lost. When Sam brings up their mother again, it turns out that Dean's not even talking about their mom. He's talking about Cass. And Dean, if it's even more possible, Dean gets even more vicious. He accuses Jack of manipulating Cass. He says that he made Cass promises and that it got Cass dead. And if I'm not mistaken, that might actually be the first time that Dean actually said that Castiel was dead. He said gone, or has not even been able to say the word, but I think that's the first time. And he says that he can't forget that. The thing is, as he's saying all of this, Jack's listening to this, and he whispers Castiel's name, and his eyes get that gold color again. And we see Castiel lying face down somewhere. We don't know where it is. We have an idea, but we don't know. It's somewhere where there's nothing. There's nothing around him. There's no walls. There's no furniture. There's just a dark floor and darkness all around him. And Cass opens his eyes when he hears Jack whispering his name. And the episode ends. Man, season 13 is gonna frickin' give me an ulcer. I thought this episode just kicked ass. I give Patience 4.5 bouquets out of 5. Patience is the backdoor pilot for the Wayward Daughters series, which I personally cannot wait for. I have totally got bells on waiting for this to start. This is going to be so fucking awesome. It was so fantastic to see Loretta Devine back as Missouri. even though we only see her for a little bit of time, but she was just amazing. Obviously, anytime Kim Rhodes is back as Sheriff Jody Mills, it's awesome because Kim is just freaking fantastic. I would love to bring up the young lady that plays Patience. Her name is Clark Bacco, and she is just fantastic. My gosh, she's just really something special, and she's obviously going to be part of the Wayward Daughters series, which I can't wait for, and I think she was really amazing. And special big shout out to the guy that played the Wraith. I want to bring him up. His name is John Core. We never got the Wraith's name. It was never actually said. Dude, you creeped the fucking shit out of me, bro. Seriously, that you did a fantastic job. You made that character so hateable and so awful that I just wanted to see him die. I mean, really. And I also would like to just, again, I realize that some people out there are going to be screaming at me, and, before I forget, I'm sorry, I did it again. I was actually going to go there, and I forgot. Adrian Holmes, the gentleman that played James Turner, Missouri's son, fan-frickin-tastic job. You can definitely tell that this is a guy that, his character is definitely someone that needed to be, he was trying to do the right thing. He's trying to save his daughter and trying to live a good life and not, have bad stuff happen like it happened with his wife and all that stuff like that. I really liked his performance. I thought it was really, really something special. I just can't... I can't even begin to talk about how much this season is just kicking my ass because it's so good. I am really, really, really impressed with this season, and like I said before, I realize that and it's not that I don't love Dean. I do, and I understand where he's coming from, and thank God he finally admitted why he was hurting. But oh God, I just can't deal. Sometimes I can't. This show is going to drive me to drink. Next week's episode of Supernatural, The Big Empty, is going to be a really interesting episode. We know that it's going to be Sam and Dean and Jack working on a case together where it turns out that people who are visiting a specific grief counselor are being killed. And Sam and Dean have to try and find out why and put a stop to it. And it's also them dealing with their own grief and their own loss and their own feelings. And I realize asking certain people, Dean Winchester, to deal with feelings is like saying, here, hold on to this live wire. But, I think it's going to be really interesting, and I hope you guys will enjoy it too. Okay, folks, before I ski-daddle on out of here, I have some other stuff that I'd like to talk about real quick. I don't usually do stuff like this, but I figured, what the fuck, I might as well this one time. The IndieWire website is one of the websites. I don't follow that very much, but they do show up on my Flipbook page every once in a while, and they had a list on the website, and I was like, I'll go check this out. The 20 best horror TV shows of the last 20 years. So they have their list of these 20 shows. Number one on their list was Hannibal. And, lots of other shows. Guess what wasn't on there? If you guessed Supernatural, give yourself a cookie, because you're right. So to the folks over at IndieWire, I could yell and scream and swear and tell you, all kinds of terrible things and stuff like that. But I won't do that because, well, I'm a lady like that, and I try to be, polite. My mama raised me to be a lady, after all. We don't do things like that up here in New England. So you guys are entitled to your opinion, even if it sucks and it's stupid and it's wrong. Da-da-da-da-da-da. So anyway, but getting away from that, I will talk about something fun now. And one thing that's really fun is reading fanfic. I love to read fanfic. I read fanfic. I write fanfic. If you'd like to read some of my fanfic, it's over at fanfiction.net. Type in Platinum Rose Lady in the author search and you'll find my stuff. But I love to read other people's fanfic too. And when I read something that I like, I love to promote it. Now, I love supernatural fanfic, don't get me wrong. But I also like reading fanfic from other sources, other genres and stuff like that. And if I find something that I like, I want to share it with you guys because I feel like sharing is fun. And so I'd like to tell you about an author that I found out there. His name on fanfiction.net is RogueFanKC. And he has written stories dealing with all sorts of different genres and all sorts of different properties, including Watership Down, X-Men Evolution, Looney Tunes, Charmed, Ghostbusters, The Hobbit, Thundercats, Kingdom Hearts, Sherlock, G.I. Joe, Justice League, Teen Titans, Thor, The Avengers, and Captain America. Specifically, I'd like to talk about, just real quick, I'd like to bring up some work that he's done involving merging together the Marvel movie universe and the world of Sherlock. He has written a bunch of stories, starting with He Asked for His Best Shot, followed by Stars and Spikes, Sharing is Overbearing and Leads to Swearing, A Tisket, a Tasket, I'm Gonna Blow a Gasket, A Dysfunctional Rescue is Still a Rescue, and What's a Birthday Without an Explosion. These stories are all fantastic. They are really, really funny. There is slash involved. I draw your conclusions as to who. But he does some really funny work. It's really well written stuff. I enjoy it. I hope you will go check out his work over on fanfiction.net at RogueFanKC. In the look him up that way in the author search. And if you do read his stuff, please do a writer a solid and leave a comment. Writers live on comments. Trust me, we want feedback. Hopefully you guys will check that out, and if you do, please let him know Platinum Rose Lady sent you. If you'd like to check out the other stuff I am involved with on the interwebs, which I hope you will do, that would include Subject Cinema, which is our movie podcast, me and my dear, sweet, long-suffering husband, TC, who puts up with all of my bullshit. We do a movie podcast where we have movie news and reviews and all kinds of fun stuff like that, and it's really fun and great. And we hope you'll check it out over at subjectcinema.com. There's also Comic Grotto with Aunt B and Pee-wee and Cavebabble. Those are some podcasts that are part of our little demented family, and you can check them out as well. You can follow me on Twitter if you'd like, over at PlatinumRoseL at twitter.com. And if you'd like to leave me any kind of comments, queries, anything you'd like to send my way, if you feel like these were good reviews, if you think I'm full of shit or whatever, you be honest with me. Be honest. Say what you want. I don't mind. I want to hear it. Just send it to PlatinumRoseL at yahoo.com. Put PRG in the header, and I will know that you will want me to read it on the air, which I will totally do. So, that is going to wrap up this mega podcast this week. Sorry it took so long. Everybody out there, I hope you have a great week. Obviously, Halloween is coming up, so keep an eye out for all those ghosts and ghouls and goblins. And if you see anybody dressed as the Winchesters, give them some extra candy. And make sure you give them the good candy. Don't give out the cheap stuff and keep the good stuff for yourself. Make sure you give out the good stuff. So this is Platinum Rose Lady signing off for another week, reminding you to love the ones you hug the ones you love, and take some time to stop and smell the roses. Happy Halloween!
Podcasting's choice. From coast to coast, continent to continent, right here 24/7.